Hello everyone. Back again with film recaps. In this video, I will recap one of a horror thriller films from 2019, titled Midsommar. Before we get to the storyline, I'd like to wish everyone a happy and great day. Without further ado, let's get straight to the storyline. The film opens by showing us beautiful views of quiet, snowy wilderness. The scene then proceeds to an eerily quiet house of the Arter family, where an answering machine plays a voice message from Dani Arter, saying that she's calling to check up on her parents because her sister, Terry, had left a scary email earlier and she's worried. Dani herself is a grad student who lives away from her family, and to ease her worries, she calls her boyfriend, Christian. Christian, however, easily brushes off her concerns, and tells her that her sister Terry had probably just made yet another empty threat, because Terry is bipolar. On the other side of town, Christian is having pizza with his 4 friends, Mark the man-whore, Josh the academic, and Pelle the sweet and timid. Mark insists that Christian should break up with Dani, because she's depressing and isn't passionate about sex. Pelle then tries to cheer him up, by saying that he'd get to meet with Swedish girls on their trip to Sweden in June. All of a sudden, the group is interrupted when Dani calls. As Christian picks up, he hears Dani wailing in agony. And we learn that Dani's sister, Terry, had actually committed suicide along with a double homicide. Terry kills herself as well as her parents, by making all of them breathe carbon monoxide from the family car's exhaust fumes. On the next day, Dani and Christian attend a house party, where they meet Pelle, Josh, and Mark, who openly share to their excitement about their joint trip to Sweden this summer. Dani seems a little upset that Christian has not told her about this, but she waits until they get home before she finally says something. When she confronts him about it, Christian's reaction shows us that he is manipulative. He gaslights her by making her feel guilty for complaining about being kept in the dark, and she starts apologizing to him instead. On the following day, Christian announces to his friends that he has invited Dani to their trip, because he feels bad for her. Mark seems to mind, but Pelle appears to genuinely welcome the idea. When Dani comes over soon after, she and Pelle have a chat and we can see that Pelle is sweet on her. He gives her an idea about his commune's annual summer solstice festival, that they're going to attend by showing her pictures. In fact, the festival occurs only once every 90 years, and Josh, who is writing his thesis on European midsummer festivities, regards it as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Pelle empathizes with Dani's loss by telling her that he knows how she feels, because he lost his parents as well. Long story short, summer has arrived and the group leaves for Sweden. After their flight lands, they take a 4-hour drive to reach Hälsingland. Upon their arrival, the group is greeted by a sight of a beautiful meadow, along with other young people from the commune. According to Pelle, they are returning home from their studies abroad as well. Pelle introduces the group as his American friends, and among others, they get introduced to Ingmar, Pelle's brother. Ingmar brought home a couple of tourists from London, Simon, and Connie. He also brings a bag of magic mushrooms, and Mark proposes that all of them should take them right away. Dani is reluctant at first, but changes her mind after Christian yet again gaslights her to participate. Sensing Dani's hesitation, Ingmar offers Dani a mushroom tea instead. After they have taken the magic mushroom, the group sit around the meadow, high off the shrooms. At this point, Dani is breathing heavily as the stuff starts to react on her body. She feels as if she is one with the earth, and sees grass growing out of the back of her hand. But suddenly, she snaps out of it and announces she's going to take a walk. She appears distraught and begins talking to herself, saying that she shouldn't be thinking about that, and that it's almost her birthday. As she walks by another group of young people, they start laughing at her, causing Dani to become even more upset. She then sees an outhouse and enters it. Alone in the dark, she briefly sees a figure of her sister standing behind her from the reflection in the mirror. As a result, Dani bolts out of the outhouse in panic, and enters the woods. She dreams of her family right before she wakes up in the middle of a clearing, with a group of guys around her. Christian tells her that they found her 6 hours ago, and that the sky never went dark. Pele then announces that they're now about to head to their final destination. The groups walk through the wilderness, until they arrive at the commune of the Harga people. It looks beautiful and peaceful, almost too peaceful, perhaps.
So much. So lovely to meet you.
These are my family.
They are then greeted warmly by the Harga villagers.
Oh. These are my friends, Christian, Danny, Josh, and Mark.
A ceremony to welcome the tourists as well as the solstice is commenced, led by their commune's leader, Siv. Josh wants to take pictures but Pele tells him he should do it quietly. Among the crowd, there sits Ruben, a disabled member of the commune who seems to be writing something. After the ceremony, the tourists sit around while the Harga people dance around hand in hand. Pele's sister, Maya, playfully kicks Christian when she passes by him, and upon noticing that she's interested in him, Christian and Josh decide to join in the dance formation. Now that Christian isn't around, Pele gives Danny a drawing he made of her, and tells her happy birthday. Danny is very grateful and thanks him, but she appears a little sad when she tells him that Christian forgot it's her birthday. On the next scene, the festivity has died down, and the tourists now walk around the commune while Pele and Ingmar explain about the Harga culture, and Josh takes notes for his thesis. Here we learn that Ingmar took Connie on a date once, but Connie started dating Simon soon after. It's pretty obvious that Ingmar still has feelings for her. The group then sees a lone triangular building and asks Pele what it is. He explains that it's a sacred building, and that no one's allowed in. They pass by a caged bear that is unclear what the bear is being kept in the cage for. Moving on, Pele shows his group of friends to the sleeping quarters, and explains that the Harga sees life like the seasons, and jokes that Harga people die when their seasons end, which is at 72 years old. Danny comes across a Hall of Fame, and Pele explains that the women in those pictures are the May Queens who are picked every year during the festival. Soon after, a young Harga woman, Inga, comes in to inform Pele that they're going to watch a movie. Mark seems excited at the prospect of sleeping with a Harga girl. After that, Christian takes Danny outside and sings her happy birthday with a slice of cake, to make up for the fact that he forgot it's her birthday today. Danny seems a little upset but forgives him. At night, Pele tells them all to rest up because there's a big ceremony tomorrow called the Testapan. When Christian inquires about the ceremony, he refuses to answer because he wants to keep it a surprise. On the next day, the ceremony begins. The Harga stand around a set of dining tables arranged in a formation, and wait for two elderlies to come. After the meal, the two elderlies stand up and start chanting a strange tune, leaving Danny wondering what the point is. Once they're done, the Hargas make a toast. The two elderlies are then carried away and taken to a cliff, while all the Hargas and the tourists watch from below. Siv, the leader of the Hargas, stand in front of everyone, reading off of a book. Josh seems fascinated by it and asks Pele about the book. Pele tells him that it's called Ruby Radar, a sacred book of the Harga commune. Up on the cliff, the two elderlies willingly hand out their open palms to get slit by a knife, and proceed to rub off the blood on a rune stone. Not long after, one of the elderlies walk to the edge of the cliff. It is at this point that Danny starts to feel something is off, and begins to breath heavily as if she knows what is going to happen next. That's right, the elderly woman plunges to her death, which of course causes Danny to be shocked and horrified. Simon and Connie are audibly panicking, and Ingmar tells them to relax because this is one of their tradition. But it doesn't end there. The second elderly walks up to the cliff and plunges down as well. The worst part is that he doesn't die, though his leg is horribly mangled from the fall. The Hargas begin moaning, as if they feel the same pain. Four Hargas then walk up to him carrying a huge mallet hammer. One by one, the four Hargas take turn to crush the man's head, crushing his skull repeatedly to ensure he has died and complete the ritual. This time, Simon and Connie could not take it anymore, and begin to leave while cursing at the Hargas. The leader stops them though, and takes her time to explain that this is simply part of their custom, and the two elderlies had just reached the end of their life cycle, and they welcomed it with joy. After that horrible custom, Christian finds Josh and tells him that he wants to do a thesis about the Hargis too, which prompts Josh to get angry because he's been working on his thesis about the Hargis for a while now. However, Christian's mind is all made up, and he insists that he's doing a thesis on the Hargis no matter what. Josh then confronts Pele to vent about his anger at Christian. Pele seems surprised that they're doing their thesis on his commune and advises against it, saying that the elders would not approve of such documentation. But he eventually promises to talk to the elders about it, and Josh is satisfied for now. Danny is now back in the sleeping quarters, and she is packing up to leave. Pele finds her and she breaks down when she sees him, clearly overwhelmed by what she had just witnessed given her recent trauma. Pele calms her down and tells her that out of everyone that he brought here, he was most excited for her to come. He then tells her about how his parents died in a fire when he was a little boy, and though he was an orphan, he never felt alone because the community raised him and made him feel held and loved. He then takes her hand and asks her if Christian makes her feel loved. In this moment, Danny finally learns that Pele is pretty much in love with her. Later that night, Danny dreams that all of her friends are sneaking out of the commune. She runs outside and then hears the sound of a car moving, and sees her friend's car driving away. Early in the morning, while the group is still asleep, Pele's sister Maya tucks a sort of talisman under Christian's bed. Later that day, Pele tells Josh that the elders have given Josh and Christian permission to write their thesis on the Hargis, with the condition that they don't use any real names, or specify the location of the commune. Mark seems disinterested and announces that he's going to take a piss. Josh then takes out the talisman he found under Christian's bed, and Pele tells him it's a love rune. Christian walks up to them and Pele tells him about the love rune, and that his sister, Maya, seems to have a crush on him. Then all of a sudden, one of the Hargis start yelling. It turns out that Mark had taken a piss on the ancestral tree, which is where the ashes of the dead Hargis are spread. Even Pele seems pretty pissed off by this. On the other side of the commune, Connie seems to be in a rush to leave the commune. One of the Hargis then comes up to her, and tells her that Simon had left first, and that Connie should take the next train that leaves, which is not for another day. Of course Connie finds this hard to believe, and goes off to find Simon. Danny, who overheard this entire conversation, goes to find Christian to tell him about it. But Christian seems nonchalant about it though, and seems more interested in asking the Hargis questions for his thesis. Danny then walks away, and a Harga woman invites her to help them cook meals with the women of the commune. Meanwhile, Josh spends the day with an elder, who patiently explains to him about the Ruby radar. Apparently, the Ruby radar is an everlasting work in progress that in every generation, is written by a disabled person in the commune. In this generation, the writer is Reuben, who is a deliberate offspring of incest between the Hargis. When Reuben dies, the Hargis would make another incest offspring, to continue writing the Ruby radar and so on. Josh asks for permission to take pictures of the book, but the elder firmly refuses this idea. During supper that evening, Danny feels disturbed by Connie's absence, and feels confused as to why Simon would leave without her. A Harga villager interrupts by saying that Simon had called Connie, and the two have been reunited at the train station. However, this information doesn't seem to calm Danny down though. The Harga man who yelled at Mark earlier can be seen glaring at him in discontent. An uneasy air can be felt between the whole group. When Christian bites into his pie, he finds ginger pubic hair tucked in there, that belongs to none other than Maya. Maya can be seen staring at him from the distance. Not long after, Inga comes up to Mark and tells him to follow her. He excitedly gets up and leaves with her, even though he has no idea what is waiting for him. Later that night, when everyone has gone to bed, Josh sneaks away from the sleeping quarters to take pictures of the Ruby radar. But suddenly, a figure without pants wearing Mark's shirt approaches him. The figure turns out to be Reuben, wearing Mark's skinned face. During breakfast the next morning, Danny questions Mark and Josh's absence. As usual, Christian brushes off her worries, and convinces her that they're fine. Then all of a sudden, an elder stands up and announces that the Ruby radar is missing from the temple, insinuating that Josh had stolen it and taken off. After breakfast, a couple elders confront Christian, Danny, and Pele to ask them about Josh and Mark's whereabouts. They point out that their disappearance is very suspicious given the situation. Christian seems convinced that Josh took the book and ran off. Therefore, Pele and a Harga elder decide to go look for Josh and Mark, and Danny gets assigned to spend the day with the Harga women yet again. Christian, however, seems to have something special awaiting him, because apparently Siv the commune's leader wants an audience with him. In the next scene, the Harga women are waiting in line to drink a special tea for the May Queen competition. It is unclear what the water is made of, but one thing is certain, Danny will be taking part in this competition. Just before the competition begins, Danny begins to feel the drug in the tea kick in, where she sees grass growing out of her feet. An elder announces the rules of the competition, which is whoever can dance the longest is the winner. And thus, the competition begins. Inside Siv's cabin, Josh is asked how he feels about Maya. He seems surprised and confused, but we don't get to see his true answer, because the scene cuts to him exiting the cabin and walking up to the dancing women. After a while in the competition, the women begin falling down to the ground, until there are 8 left dancing. Danny is among them, and she appears to be having a great time. Meanwhile, Josh is watching in the audience, right when a Harga woman comes up to him and hands him a drink, claiming that it is spring water with special properties. He takes a glance at Maya, who is sitting in the distance, before downing the drink. Meanwhile, Danny is still dancing. She seems exhausted but nonetheless carefree.
I don't speak Swedish. What?
Later on, the 2 Harga women soon fall, leaving Danny to be the last one standing. Danny is perplexed at this point, because she is now coronated as the May Queen. Danny notices her parents among the Hargans, and Pele openly kisses her on the lips. She is hoisted up on a platform, and is carried to the dining table while the rest of the commune chants in her glory. Christian, however, doesn't seem all that excited, and simply watches from the distance. Danny revels in her throne and the newfound love she receives, and the Hargans dine together in joy and peace while Christian looks unwell. He's probably having a bad trip from the drink earlier. He also seems unaware of his surroundings and is wincing in pain. Maya then stands up and walks away from the table, her gaze never leaving Christian the whole time. After their meal, Siv announces that it is now time for the May Queen to bless the crops and livestock, and that Danny must go alone. Christian cannot come with her. Danny is then taken away to bless the crops and livestock. After she leaves, Christian is drugged again and led into a chapel, where he gets dressed up in Hargan attire. Inside the chapel, there is Maya lies at the far end of the room, waiting for him and surrounded by the rest of the Harga women, all naked and chanting a solemn song. He comes up to Maya and begins to make love with her. Meanwhile, Danny finally returns from her blessing ceremony, and she could hear something odd coming from the chapel.
What's that?
It's not for us.
She approaches the chapel, and sees the view of Christian having sex with Maya through the keyhole on the door. She instantly feels sick and retches on the ground. The Harga women then come to her aid, and they begin trying to calm her down. They begin moaning and sobbing along with her, as if sharing the pain. Back in the chapel, Christian begins to come to his senses, and immediately runs out of the chapel. He comes across what looks like Josh's legs sticking out of the ground among a series of shrubs. Horrified, he runs and enters the chicken coop, where he finds Simon's naked body suspended in the air. His lungs sticking out of his back and somehow still pulsing, indicating that he's still alive at the moment. Christian is horrified, but all of a sudden, an elder shows up before him and blows some sort of sedative to his face, knocking him unconscious. When Christian wakes up, he is surrounded by the Hargans, and a woman informs him that he can no longer speak or move. It turns out that he's already in the final midsummer ceremony, with Danny sitting on the stage covered in flowers. Siv announcing that they're sacrificing 9 human lives for this year's midsummer festival, 4 of their own, 4 foreigners, and 1 chosen by the Queen. 2 of their own have already given their lives. Thus, to even out the number, Pele's brother, Ingmar, and a man named Ulf have volunteered to give their lives as well. Pele is also honored for bringing them new blood sacrifices to purge it of its evil. Up next, the May Queen gets to choose the last of the 9, where it is between a local and Christian. In the end, Dani chooses Christian, and you can come up with your own ideas as to why she did so. The next scene shows the Hargans carrying the tourists' dead bodies into the sacred building and arranging them neatly. The caged bear that we saw in the beginning of the film is finally being killed, and the organs inside are removed. It is stuffed with the paralyzed Christian, before being carried into the sacred room, which is also the lone triangular building we saw earlier. After that, they begins displaying him alongside the dead bodies, as well as Ingmar and Ulf.
Känn ingen rädsla. Från idegranen. Känn ingen smärta.
They then burn the building while the rest of the Hargans chant their prayers outside. Dani has now willingly joined the Hargans, as she finally felt loved and held. The new May Queen watches the building burn, and the rest of the Hargans begin screaming and wailing in pain, feeling the pain of their people inside. Dani also screams and cries with the Hargans, now becoming one with them. The movie ends with Dani smiling in a maniacal bliss while staring at the burnt-down building. Okay guys. That's all the recap for Midsommar 2019. Thanks for watching. See you again in the next video.